with dignity. Not long ago, I saw in my clinical office a 43-year-old attorney on whom I had operated for an early-stage breast cancer 3 years before. Although she was free of disease and had every expectation of permanent cure, she seemed oddly upset that day. At the end of the visit, she asked if she might stay a bit longer to talk. She then began to describe the recent death in another city of her mother from the same disease of which she herself had almost certainly been cured. "My mother died in agony," she said, "and no matter how hard the doctors tried, they couldn't make things easy for her. It was nothing like the peaceful end I expected. I thought it would be spiritual, that we would talk about her life, about the two of us together. But it never happened. There was too much pain, too much Demerol." And then, in an outburst of tearful rage, she said, "Dr. Nuland, there was no dignity in my mother's death." My patient needed a great deal of reassurance that there had been nothing unusual about the way her mother died, that she had not done something wrong to prevent her mother from experiencing that spiritual death with dignity that she had anticipated. All of her efforts and expectations had been in vain, and now this very intelligent woman was in despair. I tried to make clear to her that the belief in the probability of death with dignity is our and society's attempt to deal with the reality of what is all too frequently a series of destructive events that involve by their very nature the disintegration of the dying person's humanity. I have not often seen much dignity in the process by which we die. The quest to achieve true dignity fails when our bodies fail. Occasionally, very occasionally, unique circumstances of death will be granted to someone with a unique personality, and that lucky combination will make it happen. But such a confluence of fortune is uncommon, and in any case not to be expected by any but a very few people. I have written this book to demythologize the process of dying. My intention is not to depict it as a horror-filled sequence of painful and disgusting degradations, but to present it in its biological and clinical reality as seen by those who are witness to it and felt by those who experience it. Only by a frank discussion of the very details of dying can we best deal with those aspects that frighten us most. It is by knowing the truth and being prepared for it that we rid ourselves of that fear of the terra incognita, the unknown land of death that leads to self-deception and disillusions. My mother died of colon cancer 1 week after my 11th birthday, and that fact has shaped my life. All that I have become and much that I have not become I trace directly or indirectly to her death. When I began working on this book, my brother had been dead just a little more than a year, also of colon cancer. In my professional and personal life, I have lived with the awareness of death's imminence for more than half a century and labored in its constant presence for all but the first decade of that time. This is the book in which I will try to tell what I have learned. Every life is different from any that has gone before it, and so is every death. The uniqueness of each of us extends even to the way we die. Though most people know that various diseases carry us to our final hours by various paths, only very few comprehend the fullness of that endless multitude of ways by which the final forces of the human spirit can separate themselves from the body. Every one of death's diverse appearances is as distinctive as that singular face we each show the world during the days of life. Every man will yield up the ghost in a manner that the heavens have never known before. Every woman will go her final way in her own way. The first time in my professional career that I saw death's remorseless eyes, they were fixed on a 52-year-old man lying in seeming comfort between the crisp sheets of a freshly made-up bed in a private room at a large university teaching hospital. I had just begun my 3rd year of medical school, and it was my unsettling lot to encounter death in my very first patient at the same hour. James McCarty was a powerfully built construction executive whose business success had seduced him into patterns of living that we now know are suicidal. But the events of his illness took place almost 40 years ago, and we understood a great deal less about the dangers of the good life. When smoking, red meat, and great